Romance scams. Do you know someone who has been snagged by the romance scams? Doug, a great topic to talk about tonight. Before we get to the topic at hand, I understand that you and your Fraud Watch team have been, your fellow fraud busters have been out working hard.
Oh, no.
There's
No.
See, who's that guy up front? Let's That's your proud team, though.
Well, that concludes my remarks for the evening.
The fraud busters, you're out there. So, but we, again, a very serious conversation here tonight, and a lot of people are going to call in and tell us, unfortunately, some stories that are all too frequent, unfortunately. Before we do that and get too far in, just kind of give us a broad brush, what are romance scams?
Right. Well, romance scams have been around for millennia. Let's face it, the love con, using emotion to persuade people. But it used to be really time-consuming. You'd have to meet the person, and it would take months and months. Now we have this thing called the internet. We have dating sites, which are by and large legitimate. You know, I mean, lots of people do lots of good things on dating sites, meet their spouses and so forth. But there's also a huge growing concern about imposters on these dating sites. In a nutshell, what they do is they use fake profiles. These are people who want to engage either a man or a woman and get them to fall in love with them so that they can take their money. That's it in a nutshell. So,
but not, we want to, off the top, and you have said it many times during our meetings earlier today, Mark, not all sites, they're not bad. It's not a bad service that the online gives the opportunity for people to meet each other.
That's right. I know many people myself who have met their eventual spouse on these dating websites. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry, and mostly it's good, but unfortunately, as with everything else, con men can infiltrate it.
Very good, and that's what you're here all about tonight, is to help those viewers and listeners. Watch out. Yellow flags, red flags, whatever color of flag, be watching out for if you are using these on site. So what's AARP doing in this regard?
Well, we're really concerned that a lot of the people falling for these scams are our members, people age 50 and older. And so I co-authored an article with David Dudley from AARP, the magazine, this month called Are You Real? And we profiled the story of Amy, who unfortunately was a very bright, competent 58-year-old businesswoman who went onto one of these websites and had an unfortunate experience. And we're hoping, and we're spending a whole hour tonight on this, we really want to get the word out to warn people so they won't fall for this.
Again, here's the magazine. If you want to pick that up, if you are an AARP member, you already have one in your hands. It's a helpful story, I guess I would say, with Amy and her story. So the calls herself Amy. That's not her real name. How long did her ordeal last?
Before we get to that, I want to just mention the gravity of this. We have a couple data points that I would like to share, if you don't mind, Mark.
Yeah.
1 in 10 Americans, as of 2013, had used an online dating site. It's no longer taboo. You know, it used to be kind of embarrassing. Oh, I don't want to tell people I'm on online dating. That is no longer true. This is really a cultural norm almost now. Unfortunately, according to the FBI, just in the last half of 2014, $82 million was reported lost by these romance scammers. And I'm convinced that that is a floor, that is a low number, because most people, unlike Amy, who had the courage to come forward, really don't want to tell their story in this way. It's embarrassing. You know?
I would agree that 82 probably is a low number. Unfortunately, the number who knows what the number might be from there. So again, we have Amy profiling in the magazine, and again, talk about her ordeal. It didn't take long in this case.
No, this was just a little more than a year ago, and she had lost her husband a couple years before. She had gotten the advice, don't do anything for a year after you've been widowed.
Which she did.
Which she followed that advice. Yeah. But her friends kept sort of pressuring her to say, you know, you should get out there. And this online dating thing is not weird. It's really okay. And that's where she started to run into trouble. And I think we have a short video clip.
Yeah, it kind of compiles the whole story here for all of us to watch and feel Amy's ordeal as she walked through it.
I had just lost my mother. I had just lost my husband. I had just stayed away from the whole dating scene, really almost a year and a half. And I finally went out on a dating site, met this great guy. He was a 100% match. And I thought, well, you can't go wrong with somebody that's 100% matched. Suddenly he starts taking more and more of my time. I would be texting or instant messaging and making a meal. So he was constantly there. So you kind of stop really thinking as clearly because, you know, the romance is just really starting to bud. You know, that feeling you have when you're falling in love with somebody. He learned very quickly that I'd worked hard all my life. I'd been saving money, putting it away. He mentioned he was on a job in Malaysia, and there is some hardware components that are stuck in customs. And he has to pay the fees to get those items out of customs. And the next thing you know, I'm bouncing around all my savings and all my retirement investments. I wired the first 2 transactions to cover the customs fees. I couldn't believe I could have been so stupid.
And that's just a condensed version of something that went on for several weeks. Again, I don't know how that time period compares with what's normal out there. Do you have any thoughts on that, Doug?
I think it varies widely. It just depends on the situation and how quickly the con man works. And I believe one of the things tonight that's exciting to me, Amy not only had the courage to do this article, but she's going to call in to our show tonight.